Good morning, my YouTube friends and family. Hope everyone's doing well. Um, got a couple requests on my last video. Sorry, I've been kind of AWOL. Been busy with personal stuff. Been busy fixing trucks. And honestly, I didn't think the Amazon load board had much to offer. I also found myself kind of not really digging the direction that some people take their, I'm going to call it the YouTube hustle. Um, I get a lot of comments on some of my videos because I don't paint the rosy picture. And as I look at other YouTubers' channels, they're littered with, well, if you want me to review a city for you, cash at me money. You have a whole bunch of brand new people that literally they haven't even been through their new entrant audit yet, but they're offering you consultation fees on how to set up your company. And honestly, I just don't want to be put in the same pot with those types of YouTubers, I guess. And as I look at what's happening in the trucking market, there's probably well over 100 videos where YouTubers are, for example, comparing hotshot rigs to semi rigs, and they're all giving you like 20 reasons why hotshotting is better. And if you go to any of the hotshot groups, I've been saying this for years, hotshotting is not a good return on your investment. But, the response I usually get is, oh, look at so-and-so's, videos. This person's a success. You don't know what you're talking about. And if you look at load boards right now, if you have access to the load boards, take a look at their sub $1 rates for hotshot loads. In other words, there's loads out there that are in the 80 and 90 cent per mile range. And all the hotshotters are jumping up and down screaming that brokers are just ripping them off. It's not that brokers are ripping them off. It boils down to the market is saturated. And, you can probably Google search it right now and you'll find 5 or 6 new hotshot guys telling you how they're making a killing. And you have to look at what the motivation behind some of these videos are. The nature of my comments is kind of based on some of these people are not necessarily interested in giving you the best information for your financial well-being. They're offering you the videos that get them the most likes and the most views because they're getting that YouTube money. They're telling you, hey, cash at me some money and I'll show you this city. Why? They're pimping themselves out. And again, I'm not downing them for doing it. It's a source of cash flow. There are YouTube channels out there that generate over 10,000 a month in revenue. And if you add that to your existing business model, that's all profit. Or you take that as your pay, and all of a sudden you don't have to burden your trucking business with your own personal payroll. I get it. I really do. But I guess I kind of got tired of contradicting what these people are constantly saying. Like I say, there's probably 100 videos where people tell you, hotshotting is a better business model than running a semi-truck. Yet a lot of my flatbed friends right now are doing 12, 14,000 a week in gross revenue, and they're keeping local, they're home every other night, and your hotshotters are struggling to get over $1 a mile because their market is saturated. In other words, people should have stopped jumping into hotshotting a while ago. There's too many trucks for the work that's out there. And yet you look at your semi trucks and everyone's talking about how there's a driver shortage. Interesting, right? I've been saying for a while, don't go that way. Anyway, and so that was kind of another reason I struggled to find motivation to make some of these videos, because I felt like I was constantly jabbing at some of these other YouTubers, and I really don't need the drama of, oh, well, he said this about so-and-so, and then they're making videos hating on mine, and so, you know, it's one of those kind of things. Anyway, the market is improving for Amazon. As I look, I can see more loads, and I can see the rates have gotten a little better. And I'm sure in some markets it's a lot better, and I've just not touched on those particular markets. But for this morning, I had someone ask me for Pennsylvania. I'll say it again. If your guys are going to ask for a place, you have to give me a city and state. Amazon's load board does not filter by state. Because of the way their thing works, it's going to tell you how much deadhead you have. And so I put in what did I choose for this one? It's not Pittsburgh. I forgot which city I chose. It's Pennsylvania, PA. Sorry. And so, with that being said, you know, this first load is from Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, from Pittsburgh. And so from Pennsylvania, up at the top here, it shows you what your deadhead is. So it's 121 mile deadhead. And you need to know what city, so that the deadhead helps you determine whether you want to take this load or not. And so if I type in just Pennsylvania, it's not going to give me anything back. Anyway, so for this market, available on the load board is 84 loads. And a thing to consider, there's probably more loads there, but Amazon's gone to this thing where they are putting a bunch of loads into the Post-A-Truck. And the idea behind the Post-A-Truck is with Post-A-Truck, you can't sit here and wait till the middle of the night when the rates go up. You basically put in what you want, and they fill those last minute loads and save themselves a bunch of money. In other words, this load for $2.45 per mile may go up it may go up in a few more hours, because that's for 2 o'clock this afternoon. And in Post-A-Truck, it won't go up because they've got a line of trucks in Post-A-Truck that don't have any work, and they'll just assign them to you at the lower rate that you requested. Instead of this going up to, let's say, $3.50 a mile, if you put in you'll take $2.50 a mile, they'll assign it to you instead of letting the load board hit $3.50. Hope I made sense. I think I kind of rambled that one. My apologies. Anyway, so this is a box truck load. It's 104 miles at $2.45 per mile. This is another box truck load, 104 miles for $2.44 a mile. This is a power only load, 54 miles at $5.86 per mile. So you'll make $3.21 in approximately 3 hours. Pretty close to $100 an hour. That's manageable. I would consider, unless it's too far away, because you got a 100-mile deadhead there. So here we have 734 miles. This is a power only load at $2 a mile, and it's a round trip. So it starts in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and brings you back to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Here is a Hagerstown, Maryland load. This one is 165 miles for $2.14 per mile. Here's a Pittsburgh load going to Imperial, PA. 48 miles. Says it's going to take 7.5 hours to do at 947 per mile. This is another power only load, 188 on the miles for 255 per mile. 10 hours to make 480 bucks. That to me seems a little cheap. The other day on Facebook, there was someone that posted they took 2 box truck loads and made 600 bucks in 6 hours. And so again, that's like 100 bucks an hour. But with the box truck, that's a really good rate. With the semi truck, in my opinion, not so much. You consume more fuel. I was gonna say it's a more expensive truck, but lately you guys are running the price of box trucks up where they almost cost as much as semi trucks. So I don't know. In that particular case, I think that box truck driver did pretty well. Anyway, so here we have another power only load, 67 miles at 841. There's another power only load, 158 miles for 308 per mile. Here is a power only load for 266 miles at 261 per mile. There's a 93 mile load. This is a 26-foot box truck for 382. That is not a bad deal. I don't know the geography out there. I don't know, if that's a really hilly drive, but that's a decent rate for a box truck. And so here we have a power only. This is what they call a tour. So it's multi-stops. Looks like there's 7 stops, 2,100 miles. Pays $264. So in 5 days, you'll make 5,700 bucks. For some people, that hits their target numbers. When I say to someone, or on the video here, that's not worth it, remember that's based on my overhead of my company and my home. If you're a younger person with no kids and maybe you share an apartment with some friends, your threshold of what's a moneymaker is going to be different from mine. And so if I say it's not worth it, it's not worth it for me, considering, I have a yard that I rent for a bunch of trucks that I'm not using at the moment. I have overhead staff at home, and so my minimum for me to even be interested and want to start a truck is $1,000. And so that's just my own philosophy. But if you're a new startup and your overhead's really low, and you've managed to make you've managed to keep your lifestyle where you don't need as much for your own personal pocket, what makes sense for you is going to be different for what makes sense for me. So anyways, there's a box truck load, 70 miles at $5 a mile, 356. It says it's going to take 6 hours to complete the job, 6.5. Again, I'm not familiar and I've never done these loads, but lately I'm hearing from people that you can pull a load like this off. I don't know if it's doable in this market, but there's been people posting lately that some of these loads you can do, come back and grab a second one. And so, if you can get 2 loads that are similar to this and do just a couple hundred miles and make 600 bucks, before the break of dawn, as they say, I wouldn't complain at that. That's a hustle right there. So there's another box truck, 159 miles at $250 per mile. It's 259, but I tend to round these things. So there's a 42-mile load at $6.89 per mile. So the load pays $2.92. Again, that's another one of those, if you could knock it out quickly and come get a second one similar to that, then you're making some money. There's another box truck load, 179 miles for $2.60 a mile. There's a 22-mile load, power only, at $12 a mile, for $2.72 per mile. There's a 104-mile box truck load at $2.68 per mile. There's a 3,000-mile tour, power only, at $196. That's going to take you approximately 5 days. So in 5 days, you'll make just under $6,000. There's a 189-mile power only load, $242 per mile. There's an 80-mile box truck load at $342. Total payout is $274. A 28-mile box truck load for $10 a mile. So this one's decent, kind of any way you slice it, in my opinion. So it'll take you 3 hours 11 minutes, and it pays almost $300. So for a box truck, you're making $100 an hour doing this load. That's decent money. You know, and honestly, if you could get yourself a couple of these and make a full 10 or 11 hour day out of it, at $100 an hour, you know, then you're making decent money. Your investment in the truck is relatively low, and you're making $100 an hour. My oil field trucks, you know, in good times make about $100 an hour, but I have to buy a semi truck, I have to buy a tanker, and then I have to buy a $5,000 pump to make the truck load and unload, and my insurance is probably 3 times as much as you guys will pay for a box truck. And so that's good money if you could keep, you know, a solid schedule going. Anyway, there is a power only, this is another tour, let's just say it's 2,500 miles for $4,700. There's another box truck load, 63 miles, paying $348 in total in 3 hours. You know, again, that's a decent rate, mileage and hourly wise. So there's a 53-mile load, 3 hours worth of work for $340. There's another box truck load for $48. Obviously, this market's good for box trucks right now. It is that time of year, guys. We're entering that peak season. People are starting to order their Christmas gifts. The backup of containers sitting offshore in California, you know, has everyone worried they're not going to get their Christmas gift in time. So a lot of people are ordering way early. I know in my household, my wife starts ordering Christmas gifts halfway through the year. They just start showing up randomly, and you know, it's just how she does it. And so I think peak season is going to be a little bit different this year because of that, and the box truck market is definitely improving. Anyway, so there's a 48-mile load, $6.24 a mile. In a 3-hour period, you'll make just under $300. There's a 115-mile load, power only, $244 per mile. You know, it's kind of funny, right? So that box truck load pays about $100 an hour, and here you have a 3.5-hour load paying under $300. So obviously, box trucks right now they're a higher demand item, short term. that's just the nature of supply and demand, right? So there's a 115-mile load. This is power only. This is a load that got unlocked. Apparently they reserve these for people with a higher score, and so they've unlocked it. So this one will pay $280 for about 3.5 hours worth of work. And so here is this one's a little bit different. If you look right there at the top where I scrolled up to where it says LTL live drop, very possibly this is going to be, and I've done a load like this before, so you're going to pick up one of their preloaded trailers and make multiple drops with it, or make multiple picks on the way up. That's why they're calling it an LTL. And so at 113 miles, it's going to take you 10 hours to do, and you're going to make $366 on this particular load. So it's almost like you're making $36 an hour. There are truck driving jobs that pay $36 an hour. So in this particular case, not only does this load kind of really not make sense, but you can make more as a driver. I'm not sure about the Pennsylvania market, but on the West Coast, if you have a hazmat endorsement, there's $30 an hour jobs as a company driver. Anyway, so here's a similar load, 172 on the mileage. It's an 8-hour load, and you'll make $342. So here's another, LTL type deal, 128 on the miles, 370 for 8.5 hours worth of work. There's a box truck load, 242 on the miles, 6.5 hours to get the job done, $2 a mile, and it pays $500. There's another power only load, 596 on the miles. This is another tour, just under $2 a mile at $1,100. This is 790 on the miles. It's going to take you a day and 2 hours. So there's obviously a reset out there somewhere, and a 10-hour break is what I'm trying to say. And it's $1.72 a mile, so $1,300. You could almost say for 2 days worth of work, because when you come back from that load, you're going to need another 10-hour break, and so you're not going to do much the second day. To me, it's not hardly worth it as a load. And so here's a 585-mile load. It's going to take you a day to complete, and it pays $1,100 at $1.90 a mile. There's another 26-foot box truck load for $104. So $300 for 7 hours worth of work. Anyway, so this is kind of the market in the Pennsylvania area. Looks like short-term box trucks are more profitable than having a power-only semi-truck. So, to each their own. All right, so I had someone ask me about Nashville. And so this particular person was curious about power only. And so there's 126 results. And again, like I said before, there's probably more that are stashed away in the Posta truck. And then let's not forget that there are people that have dedicated routes. If you have more than 3 trucks running, it's either 3 or 5, I don't remember, and you've maintained a good performance score, they'll send you an email and kind of invite you to what what some people call kind of a dedicated, but they're basically routes that they'll assign you daily. And so those routes we're not going to see on here. Those loads are they're set aside for specific carriers, and they'll stay busy just doing that. And of course, it also doesn't include the work where you've become a partner carrier with Amazon. Basically, Amazon provides you a truck, you provide the driver. So the trucks that you see with the Amazon logos on it, obviously those loads won't be here either. This is just like the open spot market. For those of you that are new to Amazon or looking to get into Amazon, there's a lot of different ways to get work with them. This is the open spot market, which is the most vulnerable. Right now, with it being the peak season for Amazon, it's a good time to be on this load board. You'll find loads that pay better than some of the dedicated work. But then when peak season passes, the people that have dedicated work, they stay with their same rates working all year round. And that's when you kind of wish you had that line of work. Anyway, so I believe this person was primarily interested in power only. I didn't really set the filters, so if there's box truck in this market, it's just going to show up randomly. If there's trailer required, it's still going to show up. I figure I'll just go through and kind of show what's there regardless. So anyway, so here is a power only load, 142 miles. Will take you 3 hours to do at $4.95 per mile. That's a $700 load. Here's 142. I think that's the same. Yeah, that's a duplicate of that load. And so here is a 208-mile load. It'll take you 5 hours. This one is trailer required, and so it pays $4.05 per mile. So it's an $800 load that, according to them, you'll get done in 5 hours. I think I've been to that Amazon location, and they weren't bad in terms of unload time. So it may be possible you'll do that load in 8 hours with a trailer required. Here's another trailer required going to the same place. This is a trailer provided for 23 miles, paying $17 a mile. So according to them, you'll make $400 in about 2 hours. I've never been to that location, so I don't know if they're a quick load and unload kind of thing. Actually, it's just a drop and hook, so that could be a money maker. Here is another power only, 22 miles. The little lock at the bottom, guys, means these were loads that were locked up for people that have a better performance score. In other words, you have to have an A score with them to look at these loads. But then if Amazon sees no one's taking them, they unlock them and put them in the board where the rest of people can see them. Anyway, so it's 23 miles. It's a power only, $18 a mile for $408. According to them, you'll get it done in 2 hours. Here's another unlocked load, 22 miles at 18. Oh, it's the same thing. So there's two traders over there. And so, honestly, when Amazon does something like this, it kind of frustrates me. They make their start and end time within like a few minutes of each other. Why couldn't they, this is just my opinion, why couldn't they space these out where the same carrier could go grab this load, drop it, come back, grab the second load, drop it, and make an $800 day out of, if you include round tripping, out of 80 miles. You guys pick up what I'm saying? If you look where it says DNT, I kind of scrolled it to the top. Its start time is on the 24th at 7:33, but then if you look at this next one, its start time is at 7:56, and so if you try and book both, you'll get a bad grade because you'll be late on the second one. Why couldn't they space these out and let one driver, one carrier go 23 miles, drop, come back 23 miles, grab this second one, you know, and in that round trip, make themselves a nice little chunk of change there. I get frustrated when I see that. That could have been a nice, you know, half day for someone for, you know, whatever it is, $816. Anyway, I'm rambling, sorry. So 124 miles. This is a box truck load at $434 per mile. So that is $540. And according to them, you'll finish this in 4 hours. That's a good paying load. I mean, I some people say I'm anti-box truck. I'm not anti-box truck. I look at the business model, and during the regular season, I don't see it. Right now, I gotta admit, these loads look good. So here's another box truck load for 91 miles at $490 a mile. That's $446. And according to them, you'll finish this in 4 hours. That's not bad money. It's $100 an hour if you want to break it out on an hourly basis. So here's another 84-mile load for a box truck, $297 per mile. So according to them, in 3 hours and 12 minutes, you'll make $249. There's another box truck load, 149 miles. That's $284 per mile. So $425 in about 4 hours. There's 126 miles at $320 per mile. $405 is the payout. This is a power only load, $747 on the miles, $222 per mile. So it's a $1,600 load. It's a multi-stop, power only, that starts in Juliet, Tennessee, Mount Juliet, and it's going to end in Plainfield, Indiana. There's a team power only tour. Basically, it's 2 drivers pulling Amazon loads, 6,000 miles for $10,476. It's going to tie you up 6 days for $10,000. You know, to that I say, you could get a team load going from West Coast to East Coast. You can finish that in 2.5 days and make more money. I kind of don't get why people are so stuck on doing these Amazon team power only loads. Last year I ran a team in one of my trucks, and the truck was doing like almost 30,000 a week. I don't get why someone would do all these miles and deal with the Amazon frustration for only $10,000. That's just my opinion. I mean, I can do $10,000 in a single truck in a week without putting 2 drivers in the same truck. I don't know. Just my opinion, guys. I ramble sometimes, and I'm not even sure any of you want to hear that. So here is a power only load, 90 miles, $415 per mile. So 90 miles, for some reason this load is going to take you 6 hours. It's got a whole bunch of stops to it. So in 6 hours, that's $374. Not very good pay. A company driver can probably make that in a day and not have the investment of a truck. Anyway, so here is a power only load, $397 on the miles, pays $253 per mile, so it's $1,000 for the day. It's a little cheap on the per mile rate, but it makes you $1,000, so it's $100 an hour. But of course, if you consider this, you know, your box truck guys are making about that right now, $100 an hour, that is, and they don't require a CDL, and their insurance is probably cheaper, their maintenance is probably cheaper, their fuel consumption might be similar because a box truck just isn't that aerodynamic, and with the smaller motor it just works harder pulling hills. Here's another box truck load, $216 per mile. I'm sorry, $216 total miles. It's a 6-hour load, pays $188 per mile for a total of $407. There's another box truck load, $174 on the miles. Takes you 5 hours to finish the load at $1.97. This load will pay out $343 for the load. Here is a box truck load, $183 on the miles, paying $191 per mile. This is now Monday, so remember, the further out the load is, the cheaper it's going to be. But this is $351 per mile total. I'm starting to get tongue-tied, guys. So here we have $193 on the miles. This is another box truck load. $198 on the per mile, paying $384. Here's another $398 mile load. This is a power only. It'll take you a full day to do it. $242 on the miles, pays $891 in total. This is a power only tour. In other words, you're gonna leave this location and come back to this location. It's a round trip. So it's $955 on the miles. It'll take you a day and a half to do. So really, you got to say that's 2 days, because when you get back, you're probably going to be out of hours and won't be able to book another load. So it's really a 2-day load. And at $167, you end up making, $1,600, just under $1,600. So there's a 539 mile load. They're saying it'll take you 23 hours to do, paying $195 per mile, so it's $1,053 for the day. Here's another box truck load for 133 miles, pays $251 per mile. Total payout is $335 on a 5-hour load. Another box truck load for 111 miles, pays $259 per mile. Total payout is $289. Here's another box truck load, 94 miles, paying $285 per mile. Total payout there is $269. Here is a trailer required 648 mile load, pays $389. So that's $25.21. They're saying this takes 2 days and 15 hours. And that's probably going to have more to do with your delivery appointment. I'm going to say the BWI-4 location doesn't have an appointment to unload until much later. And so if you think when you're going to grab a load like this, and we've had this happen, you think to yourself, that's 648 miles. If they load me quickly, I can do that in a day. And you can. In a semi-truck, especially with as light as Amazon loads are, you can almost pull off 800 miles in some parts of the country. But what'll happen is you'll show up and they'll turn you away at the gate and tell you to come back. So it will take you the 3 days to finish this load. Otherwise, it'd be a nice load. It'd be a very well-paid load. So there's a 708 mile load, trailer required, paying $245 per mile. This says it takes 1 day and 3 hours to finish for $17.38. This is going to DFW 6. I've been to that location. They're pretty good about getting you unloaded when you're a live unload. It's a little on the cheap side, but you know, if all you do is Amazon, that's not a bad load. There's usually decent loads leaving the Dallas area for Amazon. Here is a trailer required, $680 on the miles, pays $281 per mile, $1,912 is the payout. They say that's going to take a day and 3 hours, except for the fact that it's going to DFW 1, and even though it says you have an 11:22 appointment, you probably won't get unloaded till the night shift and get out of there about 10 o'clock at night. So this is really more like a 2.5 day load. DFW 1 is one of the worst when it comes to live loads. Even drop and hook takes a while because you have to get in line with all the other trucks. And I can tell you, the cops have been out there a few times because drivers make 2 lines going down the main road and it blocks traffic. And I've been there on occasions where cops literally block both ends so the trucks can't leave, and they just walk down the line giving everyone tickets for impeding traffic. I've been told fist fights have even broken out over there for people trying to jump the line. That's just one of the worst spots you're ever going to go to. Anyway, so here is a trailer required, $22.87 on the miles, going to California. California loads never pay well. So it's $173 on the miles. I'm sorry, per mile, pays $39.57. I want to say in the past I've done loads for $4,700 leaving the Memphis area going to Reno, so that was better paid by the mile. This doesn't load till Monday. If I were looking at that load, I'd wait as long as possible to book it and hopefully get a little bit more. This is $9.58 on the miles, power only, heading to, it's a round trip, it's a tour, sorry. $172 on the miles, and it pays $16.46 total. I'm going to say that should go up a little bit because it's still early, as long as someone doesn't book it today. There's a 6,000 mile tour, power only for teams, $143 per mile. You guys see a pattern there. The tours on your teams just don't pay well. $8,600 for 5 days. I think that's why some people do it, because they feel like, you know, in 5 days I'll make $8,600. Yeah, I make more than that by myself in my truck all day long. Anyway, I'm probably gonna wrap it up here. There's a handful of box truck loads, and the poster wasn't really interested in box truck. I think he was looking at power only. And for that particular question, I believe he said he was doing some research, trying to get, you know, started in the business, and this is the market he's in. Amazon is a decent option for you to start because they'll take you on day one. In other words, you activate your authority and Amazon will let you start booking loads. Then the loads that you can see will improve if you maintain a good score. It's easier to maintain a good score when it's just you as the driver, because you pay attention, you know, you care about your score, and you do what you need to do to get the work done. When you have multiple drivers, you know, you can't really control the bad decision that a driver may make to pull over and get his truck washed. I know I'm using a dumb example, but, you know, I literally at one point had a driver that would drive 4 hours and then stop for a couple because he wanted to take a break. And, you know, he was late to like every other delivery. and that just kills you. Anyway, so I just started using this application, mainly Vic Med, another YouTuber, posted this on his channel sometime last week. I hadn't heard of this before. This is called Truck Smarter, and you know, for you, the viewer that's looking at doing power only, these are power only loads in your area. I wonder if they have anything for today. Nope. So these are power only loads. I am not on board with Schneider, but Vic Med, you might check out his channel. He's a power only guy out of LA, and he's got some pretty informative videos. And I know it sounds weird, I'm telling you, go check out someone else's channel. My YouTube channel, guys, is not a business to me. It's just me offering help. I'm not monetized. I'm not asking you to cash app me money in exchange for anything. I'm not trying to offer you consultation. I thought about doing that a few months ago. I'm just a little bit too busy for it, to be honest. I've had a couple other YouTubers reach out and say, bro, you know, if you say things that are more encouraging, if you tell people what they want to hear, you'll get more subscribers. You know, you're a little too blunt with some of your comments, and you know, you'll get more subscribers and you can start monetizing yourself, and it'll quickly turn into another cash flow stream. And I'm sure it could, and I'm sure I could do that, but I'd rather give you guys the my younger brother used to say, punch me in the nose, make my nose bleed, but I'll know where I stand with you. Don't sugarcoat it. And I don't sugarcoat much, guys. Anyway, so Schneider, I believe they do require you to be a little bit older, an authority, but here's some examples of their loads. So 405 a mile on 360 miles. Here's another one, 327 a mile on 383 miles. That one looks like it's a duplicate. 327 a mile for 383, 327 a mile for 383, 327 a mile for 383, 258 a mile for 375. Here is 554 miles. Don't know why I started that one backwards. So there's 253 a mile for 554. This is JB Hunt 360. JB Hunt 360 has an application similar to Amazon's. You apply online, you send them your certificate of insurance, yada yada yada. You download the app, and then you don't even need to call them. I think on your very first load with them, you will call for them to activate you, but then it's just an application. You book the loads, you check in, you check out, that kind of thing. I don't remember how they paid. I think they have a quick pay option, which we didn't take. They just direct deposited the money, like, I want to say it was like 10 days later. Anyway, and so here's another Schneider load at 244 per mile for 487 miles. And so as you can see, these are better paid load than Amazon loads, in my opinion. The other thing you'll notice is their delivery windows, the times are a little bit tighter. Some would say, well, that's going to make you hustle more, but no, what it means is the check-in at their gate is easy. There aren't 50 other trucks trying to get checked in, and it takes you an hour and a half just to get to the gate. Anyway, so this is another option. It's another load board that you can look at, and it lists several different brokers. Let me click over here. These are the different brokers, and so I don't recognize all of the logos, but there's Coyote, there's Arrive Logistics, there's XPO, there's Landstar, there's JB Hunt, Schneider, You could even load your Amazon account into this, and this one app will kind of connect them all, so it can become your one go-to. And I think when you click on these, it doesn't book it through here. I think what it does is it gives you all the details on the load, and then, you know, when you click connect, when you click connect broker, then it'll add it to this app where you could possibly book it through it. I haven't used the app yet. I haven't used this particular app to book anything. But this is another option for you if you're looking to do power only. It's another place for you to look for loads. Unfortunately, this app does require you to have an active authority for them to activate the app and you can look at it. But it's another tool once you get up and going to look for loads instead of always sticking with Amazon. In my opinion, Amazon's a good place to start. It's good to have it as a backup because sometimes their loads, when they become last minute, do pay really well. Amazon pays really quickly, so it's a good tool to have in your toolbox, another place to find a load. But I wouldn't base my entire business plan on just Amazon. That's just my opinion. We work with a wide range of brokers, and you know, you could say we're prostitutes and we go to the highest bidder. We're not married to anyone. Anyways, guys, I've made this video long enough. I'll go ahead and cut it off here. Maybe I'll try and do another load board review later today. Maybe I'll try and do it kind of later in the night, so Monday loads are a little bit better paid, and I'll do other different markets, and we'll go from there. Anyways, as always, thanks for watching. I need to go run, grab a shower, make breakfast, and do some other stuff while I'm doing my reset. As always, thanks for watching, guys.